Hi everyone, welcome to One Man and His Drum Lessons. Today we're going to look at a development of the rudiment video. Okay, so this is rudiment video number 2. This video is going to focus in further on singles, doubles and paradiddles, but we're going to study how we actually play them. It's easy to just say, I hit the drum, and that's how I hit the drum. To be able to hit the drum properly and to develop speed, accuracy and technique, you need to focus on really how you're playing the drum. So this could be to how you're holding the drumstick, this could be to how you're moving your arm or your wrist, and how you're using your fingers. This is all going to help you get better at playing drums. So in this video, we're going to learn how to create dynamics in rudiments. So what I mean by that is where we're going to have accents, louder notes. It's where we're going to hit the drum louder. In order to do that, we need to be able to do it correctly, so then the other notes that we play are going to still be fluid and accurate. Otherwise, if we don't use the right technique or the right movements, everything can kind of be a bit lumpy and not sound right and not sound good. It's important to practice this stuff really slow. So if you've been playing for 10 years and you haven't looked at particular techniques on how to play drums properly, you're going to feel like you're learning drums all over again. So that's why I put these in my lessons as soon as possible, really. So for the rest of our lessons, you'll be able to use this technique in order to progress faster and correctly. So use this sheet of paper I've given you in class, which explains what a single, a double and a paradiddle looks like on paper. It all looks the same. However, it's the way we play them, and that's again referring to sticking patterns. It's all played on the snare drum. Again, practice on a practice pad or a snare drum is fine. What you'll see is at the bottom of each line there is an explanation of how we play that note. Okay, so you can see in a single stroke roll we have the sort of arrow above the note. Okay, and this arrow represents an accent. It means play that note louder than the rest. This doesn't mean whack the drum really, really loud. It just means play at a decent enough volume in comparison to the rest of the notes you're playing. So if you're playing really quietly, you don't need to hit that drum really loud. You can only hit it a fraction louder to being in what would make sense for the rest of the piece of music you're playing. Okay. Likewise, if you're in a rock band and you do play really loud, you will have to play those accents even louder to make that contrast of dynamics. Okay, so before we dive in and look at how to play singles, doubles and paradiddles with accents and using technique, you need to know what the technique is. Okay, this technique I'm going to use is called a Moeller. It's the Moeller technique, and it's been around for a very long time, decades. And the reason why it's still working today is because it works. Every drummer should use it, or at least a technique. The most popular is Moeller technique. And the Moeller technique consists of 4 different types of strokes. Okay, so don't think of this as a rhythm. This is just how to play the drums. And there's 4 different ways to play drums in order to get the different sounds and the different movements. The first stroke is a full stroke. Okay, full stroke is where we start in this position here, and I call the up position, or the stick is pointing up to the ceiling, and the full stroke looks like this. And that's where the drum the stick just comes down, hits the drum, and comes back up to the top. And that's called the full stroke. You're doing the full movement. That's what that is. Okay? See what that sounds like on the drum. Okay, the next stroke is the downstroke, similar to the full stroke, except for we're kind of just doing half of it. The downstroke is where we start in the up position and we just go down and we hit the drum, and that's it, but we stay down. The stick stays down, generally about 2 to 3 inches above the skin of the drum. Okay, if it's any higher, practice doing the downstroke and making sure it's sort of within that distance from the skin. If it's close to the skin, that's not a problem, that's fine. Let's see what that sounds like on the drum. Okay, so the third stroke to make up the Moeller is a tap stroke. Okay, so the tap stroke, we are already in the down position. The stick is 2 to 3 inches above the skin of the drum, and we're simply just tapping the skin. And by that, I'm just dropping the wrist slightly to get that bounce off the skin. Okay, don't need to like put pressure. You don't need to bring the stick back up to then hit the drum. You just drop the stick down and hit the drum. Let's see what that looks and sounds like on the snare drum. Okay, so the final and probably the most difficult stroke out of the Moeller is the upstroke. The upstroke, to quickly explain, is starting in the down position, and the stick you drop like you do in the tap stroke. Drop the stick down, hit the drum, but instead of bringing the stick straight up, you bring your elbow out and the stick up like that. That's sort of the first movement. Okay, so we drop the stick, hits the drum, our elbow comes out and the stick comes up. From there, we're able to bring the stick up here, almost doing a whipping motion. So you're going, okay, it looks funny, it looks a bit weird to start with, but when you're practicing these strokes slowly, you should really overemphasize it. Okay, I'll show you what that looks like on the drum and what it sounds like as well. Okay, so firstly, you can notice a contrast between the full stroke and the downstroke and the tap stroke and the upstroke. They are in volume, okay? So the full stroke and the downstroke are louder, okay? And the reason why they're louder is because we've got more movement when we're playing the drum. The stick is pointing up at the ceiling, and we've got that space to come down and hit the drum. When we're down like this in the tap or the upstroke, we haven't got that much space. Remember I said 2 to 3 inches above this drum skin. So if you've got that, you haven't got much movement to hit the drum, and that's the point. The idea between the tap stroke and the upstroke is that it's quieter. Or alternatively, if you look at it from the full stroke or the downstroke, they're meant to be louder. What I suggest is practice these strokes on their own. Don't practice to a metronome, don't try and play it in time, just learn how those strokes are used. And then once you get used to that, playing it on your right hand and your left hand, don't forget the left hand, once you get used to that, then maybe try and do a single stroke roll and use the bit of paper I've given you to see that the accents are on the counts of 1, the count of 2, the count of 3, and the count of 4. Try it really slowly and don't use a metronome yet because you're just learning how to do those movements. On the bit of paper you can see that below the rights and the lefts you can see I've put a D, T, U, T. D, T, U, T. That's repeated 4 times for the 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and. So to do a single stroke roll, the type of Moeller strokes you need to use is the downstroke, D, tap stroke, T, the upstroke, U, and again the tap stroke, T. If you use those strokes on your right and left hands, you'll be able to perform a single stroke roll with an accent on the 1, 2, 3, and 4 using the Moeller. Give that a go, and I'll show you what that looks like on the drum now. As you can see, my starting position is with my right hand in the up full position and my left hand is in the down position. And when I'm doing the single stroke roll, my left hand is doing taps and only taps. So my left hand does not have to come up any higher than this. It's my right hand that does 2 different strokes, being the down and the up stroke. That's slower. Okay, you can see that I am overemphasizing the movements because I'm playing at a slow tempo. It's really important you do this. If you do small movements, when it comes to speeding up, you're going to find it more difficult using the Moeller. So the idea is the slower you play the Moeller technique, and using that in singles, doubles and paradiddles, whatever you're playing, use as big of a movement as you can. What you'll find is when you come to speed up singles, whatever you're playing, and you're using the Moeller stroke, you'll notice that those movements will get smaller. So I'm going to do a single stroke roll. I'm going to start really slowly, overemphasize the movements, and then speed up. And you'll soon see how much movement the Moeller drastically changes and reduces. Let's take a look. With the double stroke roll, we're using the Moeller technique, but because we're using right, right, left, left, the Moeller strokes have to be in a different order to create the right sounds that we need. Okay, we're using the same accents the accent being on the 1, the 2, the 3 and the 4, but because we're using a double stroke roll, the Moeller strokes we're using need to be different. So you can see that we're using a downstroke, an upstroke, a tap stroke and a tap stroke. Down, up, tap, tap, down, up, tap, tap, and so forth.
Again with the double stroke roll, my right hand has to start in the full position with the stick pointing to the ceiling, and my left hand is again only doing tap strokes. So it needs to be in the down position 2 to 3 inches away from the skin of the head. Slower.
Same principle applies. Practice this really slowly without a metronome. Get used to what you're actually playing and making sure that those accents are accents, they are loud, and all the other strokes are quiet. Once you feel comfortable with that, then move on to the paradiddle. The paradiddle is one of the most difficult because we're using both singles and doubles. So, paradiddle, we're going to have to use the same strokes as we did with the double stroke roll, but because we're using a paradiddle, right, left, right, right, left, right, left, left, the sticking pattern is going to be different, but we're using the same Moeller sticking. Down, up, tap, tap, down, up, tap, tap. Let's see what that looks like and sounds like on the drum.
For the paradiddle, right hand in the full position, stick pointing to the ceiling, left hand in the down position, same as singles and doubles.
Cool. So that's an introduction to the Moeller technique and how it's applied to singles, doubles and paradiddles. It's not easy. It's probably one of the most hardest things to learn and comprehend as a drummer. But once you practice this over and over again, you'll soon find you'll naturally use it in your playing style. And that's when that means your practice is being used in your normal day-to-day playing. Cool. Thank you for watching. You've been watching One Man and His Drum Lessons, and I'll see you again soon.